Hi, this is Brett Ingram, award-winning digital marketer and entrepreneur. And today, I want to share with you Unlocking Entrepreneurial Inspiration, 6 proven ways to ignite your creative spark. As entrepreneurs, we are in a unique situation because we are the people that have to motivate ourselves and inspire ourselves every single day. We don't have a leader to follow. We don't have somebody who's at the top of the mountain, sort of pulling us all up and trying to get us to where we want to go. We need to be that person, and whether we need to be that person for just ourselves, or whether we need to be that person for our team or staff or whatever else, it's super important that we're able to do that. And it's natural that we all have days where we jump out of bed and we're excited and inspired and feeling great. And we have days where we get out of bed and we're just not feeling it. We don't have the same level of just built-in inspiration. As a general rule, entrepreneurs have more inspiration on a daily basis probably than somebody just getting up to go to work. But at the same time, there are days where we need a pick-me-up also, or we need something to help us sort of get back to where we need to be to really operate at our best. And so that's really what I want to share here, because I think it's super important to have some tools to be able to do that. And, I know for me personally, I've obviously had, lots of days in entrepreneurship. I've been doing this for over 15 years. And I had a previous business before that. And I've had a lot of ups and downs throughout those times. And I've had a lot of days where I felt super productive automatically and just inspired and couldn't wait to grab hold of my mission and get it rolling. And there were other days where it was, much more challenging. And I think it's super important to be inspired as an entrepreneur, because we have to be able to always be operating at our best in order to get to a situation where we can produce the best results and achieve our goals. Because oftentimes what we're trying to do isn't simple. It's not easy. If it was, everybody would do it, and it would take, you could be an overnight success. And very few entrepreneurs, as you know, are. The vast majority of entrepreneurs, spend a lot of time and a lot of effort trying various things till they get to where they want to be. And so it requires a lot of internal inspiration to be able to do that. And sometimes we need to look to other sources, or we need to find ways to get ourselves going again and sort of charge up those batteries so we really feel great about what it is that we're doing. And so I want to share with you 6 different sort of strategies, or 6 different methods that we could use to create that inspiration if we wake up on a day where we're just not feeling that great, or maybe even in the middle of the day and we just are sort of feeling down for whatever reason and want to get to that next level. And I think all of these will work really effectively. It just depends on what resonates the best with you, or what's best for you at the given time. Use them all, use one, whatever. The first idea for inspiring ourselves and sort of getting ourselves back on track is understanding the power of stories, right? Anytime that we hear a motivational story or an inspirational story, it's impossible to not feel sort of that inspired yourself. There's a reason that these true life movies get made over and over and over again about these stories of people overcoming incredible odds to achieve things. And they aren't all business related, to be sure. The movie Miracle about the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, for example, isn't really a business movie, but it's super inspiring because it's a story of tremendous underdogs that gave everything that they had and were able to come out on top. Lots of sports movies are made in this vein, but also it's true with entrepreneurship as well. And so when we hear stories of other entrepreneurs overcoming odds, it not only inspires us because it makes us feel great, but it also renews our faith in the fact that, hey, if they could do it, we could do it too. So, a couple that come right to mind, one that most people know about, if you've been in entrepreneurship any time, is the old Colonel Sanders story, right? Kentucky Fried Chicken. So this guy was sort of an older, struggling middle class person who was, working his whole life, and he just wanted a better life than what he was living. He didn't want to go into retirement being broke. He was basically at near retirement age, and the only asset he had to his name that he thought had any value was a chicken recipe. So he got in his car and he drove around the country, and he went to 1,009 places and got rejected over 1,000 times, and he just kept going. And then obviously he got the one success that he needed, and now everybody knows KFC or Kentucky Fried Chicken because he had the power to do that. So if he can go to over 1,000 different places and get rejected and still come out on top and feel success, how can we not feel motivated by that? But a more recent story, and one that's maybe more approachable, and one that maybe people don't know, is the story of Melanie Perkins. So Melanie Perkins is the founder of Canva, the online graphic design tool, and now they do video and everything else. Well, she actually was helping people try to figure out how to edit graphics online and realized, Photoshop is really difficult. A lot of these other online programs are really difficult, and she wanted to create something that was a lot simpler. So you would think, based on Canva and how successful it is and how big it is, that this was a slam dunk no-brainer if you could pitch this vision to somebody to get it financed. Well, she was turned down by over 100 investors. 100 investors said no, they weren't interested. And it wasn't until 3 years into her pitching process that she got her first investment for it. She finally realized that by changing the way that she was pitching and going with an approach that was more focused on the fact that the problem that it solves, right, as opposed to what the software does, the average person and their frustrations with doing graphics, and then the fact that how this would fix it, that's the thing that sort of turned it for her. But it took her 3 years of trial and error. How many people would have given up after a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, after the first 5 rejections, 10 rejections, 25 rejections? You start to question yourself and start to feel as though, hey, is this really a good idea, right? But she stuck with it, and obviously now Canva is used by over 60 million people. So we can see how valuable and important that is, and we can see, but also we can draw from their strength. As entrepreneurs, as fellow entrepreneurs, we are a brotherhood and a sisterhood. We are our own sort of species in that way. And it's super important that we recognize that and that we do what we can to lift each other up. And so if we can share our own stories, or we can learn from other people's stories, and that can help motivate us and feel good and inspire us to go on and achieve what we need to do, then all the better. And the fact is, what we'll never know is how many entrepreneurs that ended up struggling and succeeding did it because they got inspired and reassured by someone else's story. And so it's one of those sort of ongoing cycles where the more success stories that come out of adversity that are shared, the more it begets more stories of people persevering and making it happen. So powerful, inspiring stories are one really great way to get ourselves inspired. I'm getting excited just talking about it. The second thing that we can do is we can look at personal growth and our own development. This is an area where sometimes as entrepreneurs, because we're sort of in the fray and we're doing what we need to do, we can get to a point where we stagnate personally. And so we sort of are working, but we aren't personally growing as much anymore. And sometimes being able to sort of unplug from that and finding something that will help us learn either a skill that is something that's lacking in our business, or something, or maybe it's just a book that we've been meaning to read, or a podcast that we want to listen to, like this one, or whatever it is. Those are all things that when we do it, right, the process of that learning gets us to feel inspired. Because as entrepreneurs, we recognize when we're growing. And that can really get us inspired because we start to feel again as though we've got this new level of achievement we can reach. We've got this new potential. And all of that has a very inspirational effect. I can tell you that there have been certain things that I've read or certain things that I've, listened to or videos that I've watched that coming out of it on the other side, I couldn't wait to get to work. I was so inspired and excited by what I learned and the breakthroughs that it helped me make in my own business that I couldn't wait to do it. I bought a book from the legendary marketer Jay Abraham, and I was trying to find ways to sort of unlock more profit in my business. And when I started to go through some of the pages, some of the stuff was things I had already been familiar with and whatever, but there were a couple of nuggets in there that when I stumbled on them, the light bulb just went off. I mean, have you ever had that moment where that light bulb just goes off? You're in the middle of something and you're like, wow. And all of a sudden I recognized that, hey, I had this idea that I could tap into and I could try that could really take my business to a whole nother level. And I ended up, in that one particular case, I ended up using it, and it ended up generating lots and lots of extra profit in a really easy way. And it worked exactly the way that it was, purported to work. And I was so excited about that. But it was the inspiration from reading it, from that personal development process, that made me understand, because I still had to make it my own. I still had to modify what he was talking about. But I was so inspired that I took action and I got it done right away. And then, of course, the results came in, and that made me all the more excited and to work even more on it. And so the process of personal development in and of itself is really, really powerful. In addition to that, if we're doing anything that isn't solo, if we go to a seminar or something that is more interactive, that also has a tremendous motivational and inspirational effect. In my industry with the digital marketing software business, it's a very solitary business in a lot of ways because we don't collaborate on an ongoing basis, on a daily basis, because we're each doing our own thing. But we have conferences from time to time. And when we get together at those conferences, there's happy hour and people are having their drinks and talking and sharing their stories, and they're talking in between sessions in the back of the room and out in the lobby and over coffee in the morning and dinner at night. So it's super social because everyone's staying at the same hotel and everyone's going through this process together. And we have a lot of things in common, but because we don't spend a lot of time together, when we get an opportunity to get together and talk, just the energy in the place, let alone anything that we learn in particular or the specifics, the energy in the place in and of itself is so inspiring because you see all of these people and they all have different things going on, but they're all trying to do things that are entrepreneurial, that have the potential to change the world or at least change a lot of people's lives. And that's super exciting. So just the energy in that in and of itself is something that really can be inspirational and get us to a new level of sort of clarity and excitement about what we're doing. It can totally re-energize. I've been in situations where I was a little stagnant in my business and I wasn't too happy with the way things were going. And, against my better judgment, I went to an event, because there aren't very many of them. So you don't really pick and choose when you want to go. You have to go when they host them or you can't. And so I had people sort of encourage me, oh, just come to it, whatever. And I went to it and it was the best decision I ever made. So then I started to go to more and more because I was so excited about what came out of it. When I was flying home on the plane, I was so excited I couldn't sleep. I could barely sit still because my mind was going crazy with all these ideas and I was so inspired and I couldn't wait to get back to work. So sometimes just that sort of social interaction with other people that are in a similar place makes a huge, huge difference. So that can be really powerful as well. And so highly recommend in-personal events, or if there's that book that you've really been meaning to read, or that podcast you've really been meaning to listen to, super valuable and important to go ahead and do that. A third method that we can employ, or a third thing we can do when we need to just get that, that extra juice going, is networking and collaboration, right? So this sort of piggybacks off of the seminar thing, but it can be different because we could still be in our own office space. We can still be in our own place. This doesn't necessarily need to be face-to-face. But I know, when we start to talk with other people and we start to share ideas, something magical happens because we all start to, the collective mind raises for everybody. And everybody starts to think at a higher level and have a higher level of responsibility to each other to help. I had the fortunate experience to be in a sort of hot seat environment where, if you don't know what that is, basically I was at a live event in this particular case, and they were doing some sort of business dumps where somebody could sit on stage and talk about what business they were working in and what current challenges they had. And there was a panel of 5 or 6 different experts in various different functional areas. And what they would do is, once they heard the problem, anybody could jump in and offer a solution or an idea. And then other people, the other experts, would all jump in. And what was happening is I could see them listening to the other experts and then piggybacking on those. And so this would go around and around. And after just a 5-minute period of time, the quality of the responses, the quality of the suggestions, within 5 minutes of all these people collaborating to come up with great solutions was phenomenal. It was so much better than even the first 1 or 2 suggestions. And a lot of times it was stuff totally outside the box. It wasn't things that you'd see normally or in a book or whatever. And so the networking and collaboration on a personal level we can do also. I have a tendency where I have a problem I want to solve, or I just want to connect with other people because I'm sort of feeling out of it. I'll reach out to some of my colleagues on Skype and say, hey, listen, you want to jump on a call for 20 minutes and just chat, catch up and stuff like that. But ultimately what happens, what comes out of that every single time is a renewed sense of vigor and excitement and inspiration, because I'm seeing somebody else doing this alongside of me. I'm seeing somebody else going through this. And maybe I'm getting great suggestions, but maybe it's just personal interaction and has nothing to do with actual breakthroughs themselves. But just the fact that, we're in this together and we're both doing it. And I know that, I'm here for you if you need me. You're there for me if I need you. And that we could share our ideas and our problems and our challenges and have that ability to get another fresh set of eyes or mind look at what we're dealing with is really, really valuable and super inspirational. So I think networking and connecting with other entrepreneurs is really valuable because, again, we are our own species, right? And so it's, we're weird in some ways, and it's super important to be able to find other people that we can exchange our ideas with. So I highly recommend that if we don't have a network already, that you find one, even if it's a Facebook group or a Skype group or whatever. Find a group of other entrepreneurs. They could be in your industry or not, and use that as people that you can connect with from time to time. Connect with them even if you don't need anything. If you can offer help for them or just to chit chat with somebody else who understands exactly your problem. It's funny because as the husband with a wife who, works a traditional job and doesn't have a business, and kids who don't have a business, and most of the people in my life work traditional jobs in my daily, personal life. I'm in some ways very alone because I don't have other entrepreneurs that I work with on a daily basis in that regard. And so it's super valuable because they all love me and they're, very supportive and all that, but they don't understand specifically exactly what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And that is the value of networking and collaborating with other entrepreneurs. A fourth thing that we can do, a fourth strategy, is to go into nature to unlock our creativity, right? So one of the things that, and it almost seems antithetical, we think, geez, what is a walk in the woods going to do for me except, let me know that, it's cold out or warm out or whatever. Well, the reality of it is, and studies have shown this over and over and over again, the reality of it is when we get into nature for some reason, it has a tendency to spark our inspiration and our creativity. We have, there's something about that's inherent in us as human beings where our connectedness to nature has a huge impact on our ability to be inspired. We don't need to look past the survey of the happiest countries in the world to understand the value of this. Among the happiest countries in the world are Finland, Netherlands, and a lot of the Nordic countries. And one of the things when researchers have asked people, what are the things about it that make it happy, or why are you happy, or what is it about your daily routine, things like that. There are obviously a number of factors, but the one that stands out that is shared in common among almost all of them is the fact that they spend a lot of time outdoors and in nature. Because when we're outdoors and in nature, we inherently feel happier. We might be begrudging to go there. If my wife wants to take the dog for a walk in the woods and I got 100 things to do, I'm sort of like, okay, but I'll do it. And I have to say, 99 out of 100 times, I'm super glad I did, because just being able to get away from what I was doing and just to appreciate nature a little bit puts you in a completely different mindset. It does recharge your batteries, and it also gives you a source of inspiration. I've been outside a number of times where I've had a great idea shoot through my head out of nowhere, and it was just from being outside. So engaging in nature, doing creative hobbies, those kinds of things are all things that ultimately get us to a place where, our inspiration raises and we feel more powerful and capable. The fifth strategy or thing that we can do is mindfulness and meditation. Tons of information has been done on this over the last several years. It's become a very, very powerful and popular practice to meditate. People recognize that as entrepreneurs, we live very stressful, busy lives. And so by being able to sort of unplug a little bit and just focus on being and be in the moment and be very mindful of things, oftentimes when we do that and we aren't thinking about business in and of itself, which is what we're doing most of the time, the fact of the matter is that unlocks creativity, it unlocks inspiration, and it gets us to a new level. It also relaxes us. And, scientists know, and they've proven beyond the shadow of a doubt, that when we're in a relaxed state, we're far more creative, we're far more effective than we are when we're in a tense, stressed, and frustrated state. And so just the act of doing that meditation or the yoga or whatever it is and relaxing and just calming down and slowing down and just being has a major impact on our ability to get inspired and stay inspired. And the last strategy is plain and old simple, staying persistent to overcome challenges, right? So we all have challenges, we all have issues that we need to fight through and focus on and get through. And, while we're going through the challenge, it doesn't feel too good, right? We're not excited about that. We're not thinking about, wow, someday I'm going to laugh about this. But it is actually true. The fact of the matter is, what doesn't kill us as entrepreneurs does make us stronger. So when we fight through challenges, when we get through obstacles and setbacks, what it does is it doesn't just get us to the other side of the issue and resolve the issue. It inspires us because it gives us internal fuel to let us understand and believe in ourselves that we're capable of doing more than we ever thought. We're capable of conquering things we never thought we could. And that is super powerful in terms of a source to draw from for inspiration. So those are 6 methods that we can use anytime we need them to get inspired as entrepreneurs. So the takeaway here is that even the most optimistic, self-motivated, self-inspired entrepreneurs need a pick-me-up sometimes. We all love what we do, but like anything else in life, there are days where it's harder to feel inspired. In these times, we can look to these 6 methods to help get us inspired and pumped up and get us feeling like we can conquer the world again.